Joining me now for more on this and the legacy of Yunupingu is Director of the Yes Campaign Alliance, Dean Parkin. Dean, how do you reflect on the life and the legacy of Yunupingu?
It's very difficult hearing right now, and it will take some time for all of us who observed his lifetime of service to obviously his Gumatj people, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people more broadly, and to the broader Australian nation. So even though we knew that this might be coming soon, it is still a shock, and it's something that it takes some time to work through, and so there'll be a lot of sadness for some time on hearing the news today.
So for our viewers who are watching this afternoon who might not be aware of the full legacy and contribution of Yunupingu over many decades, can you give us a sense of what he achieved?
Well, he was one of those people in a time in our history where he straddled the deep connection that he had to his traditional culture as a Yolngu person, as a Gumatj person, and also was at the forefront of really big changes in our country around land rights and other rights for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. He was the one that straddled those very difficult and conflicting parts of the modern Australian nation. And so over many decades, he was at the forefront. I think it was said recently that he has held an audience and has met with and worked with every single Prime Minister since Billy McMahon. So it just gives you a sense of the scale of a lifetime of dedication, very, very tough work that he has done. He's worked on obviously land rights in his local region. He's worked at the national level for a very long time. He was involved in the recognition and the movement since the Uluru Statement from the Heart. There's not a big agenda that's affected Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in this country where this old man had a profound impact. So his passing is one that will be felt now and is something that will reverberate for some time.
To The Voice, which is a part of his massive legacy. He was a factor in all of that over years and years, building momentum towards this moment where we will have a referendum later in the year. There's no bipartisanship at the moment. The Liberal Party will meet this Wednesday. What do you hope to see out of that Liberal Party room meeting?
Well, I hope there is a remembrance. I think it's apt at this point in time to remember what has been said, and what has been said over the last 15 years is that there is bipartisanship on this question of recognising Indigenous peoples in the Constitution as the first peoples of this country. There is bipartisanship on the need for a voice. There's no argument with that. So I think what we'd be hoping is looking for those parts of this issue that actually are agreed upon and say, well, how is it that we can genuinely achieve that bipartisanship for the referendum that is to come? But ultimately, that will be a decision for the coalition party room. And regardless of that decision, our campaign will continue to focus on taking the message about a successful referendum to the people of Australia.
The spokesperson for the Liberal Party, Julian Leeser, at the press club today urged the government to return to the co-design report from Marsha Langton and Tom Calma, particularly, and these are the words of Julian Leeser this afternoon. He says, "The truth is a national voice that is not accountable to local and regional voices will do little to help people at the local levels. If anything, it might heighten disconnection and disillusionment." His argument is you have to start with those local voices first. What do you say to him?
Well, the intention from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with respect to the national voice right from the very beginning is that it is accountable to people in communities. That's been the intention from the beginning. That was what was proposed in Uluru. So in that sense, in the principle of what Julian is saying, that has absolutely been supported. I think the idea that he's proposing that you set up local and regional voices first is kind of a policy interpretation of that that intention. So I don't think we're actually inconsistent here. We agree in the intention of what needs to be achieved. So I don't think that is something that should preclude Julian and the coalition from saying, well, we understand that is the intention for the national voice. It's got to be grounded in the voices of people in community. We agree with that. How that actually plays out is something that will be settled after the referendum. Let's get on and support the referendum between now and October this year.
He's also got problems with the second clause. He says, why allow room for debate about whether a particular government entity is or is not part of executive government? Why leave it to the High Court to decide what the Constitution means by, quote, make representations? Is the wording potentially too loose? Can the government win support from Conservatives like Lisa with some modest amendments?
Well, I think that's a question for those people that are pointing out problems. I mean, part of the challenge with all of this, Kieran, is that there's been some pointing out of problems. There hasn't been a great deal of proposing solutions. In the absence of that, there's been a very, very strong process. I mean, there's been many processes on these words over many years. We're 10 or 15 years into this whole process. The most recent that has occurred since the election has included some of the most experienced and knowledgeable constitutional legal experts, including former High Court judges who have run the ruler very carefully over this and have said that the rules, the words as they are sound, they're safe, and it's something the Australian people should get behind. So at this late stage, in the absence of any proposals being put on the table, I think we should just get on with it and put those words confidently to the people of Australia.
Director of the Yes Campaign Alliance, Dean Parkin, thanks. We'll stay in touch. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kieran.